Hi, this is Evan Yvonne. Welcome to Centerpiece. All right, happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Such a beautiful day. I remember my last performance art piece that I was able to do at a museum in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Such a great event, such a great performance art piece. I have a dream. Yeah, I took that down, broke it down, and basically put movement to it, sound bites, and just a really prophetic story. I love Martin Luther King. I love the month. I love the month that we celebrate him because obviously I feel like he was a prophet. So there's nothing more to be said about that. That's how I feel about him. And I think that it is his work, his speeches, brilliant. His work, brilliant. I love that the culture has pretty much set up our own canonization concerning his words and how he moved. And then I was looking at like older stuff that people were posting. And shout out to just that generation. They were so elegant. I mean, it just really doesn't, like that level of decorum, that level of decency and order within the self, going through what they were going through. They really did not look like what they were going through. They really didn't. They carried very well the just regalness of being a person of color that was refined, that was elegant, that was educated, and that was full of faith. I think that that type of character being reflected is just a joy to look at. I love to look at that. It reminds me of my grandmother and just her decorum and just the way that their attitudes were toward life, toward the future, even walking in the midst of great turmoil, great trouble, great danger, and just disrespect, So I think that is for this to be MLK Day. I was able to see a clip. I didn't watch the inauguration today. I had a job interview. I don't think that I wanted to watch anyway. I'm literally trying to figure out my own life. I do not have time to figure out what's going on with these people. I am at some point going to catch up and care, but I kind of like to take my time and just really allow for things to kind of like organically meet me so that I'm not, on some sort of search and scour for how to be mad today. Anyway, one of the clips that was shown, my heart filled with, in a sense, compassion, and which I was very grateful for because it wasn't anger. Elon Musk performed a white power sign. And while I'm not surprised, I commented, I appreciate the transparency because I do like to know what I'm dealing with. And I like to make my decisions according to, that might not bother people. That might not bother any black people or white people. That's not necessarily my concern. But for me, it brings me to a very real point, a realistic point where I can deal in real time. I don't have to deal in smoke and mirrors. I can understand fully that every conclusion that I draw is coming from a place of, no, this is what this person has demonstrated, and I'm going to act accordingly. It doesn't have to be a big dramatic thing. And I think that we're mature enough, most of us are mature enough as a nation to understand, okay, how do you deal with this? And I think that you have to personally come to the understanding of what those kind of signals mean to you. What is the underlying message of, what people think about you or what they think about themselves. My heart was filled with compassion because the first thing I thought about I was like, you have to really make sure that your kids are part of something within their family as they're growing up. And there has to be nurture. There has to be love, or they will find other groups, other organizations, other things to be a part of that might not even reflect. I was thinking, like, where is his mama? Like, where's your mother? Like, are you really going to seriously embarrass your family out here like this? Like, I would be mortified to do that. It would be almost like me making a twerking video and then sending it to my mother or sending it to my aunt. No, that's just not appropriate. I'm your aunt. My daughter is grown enough to do that, and she knows not to do that. Like, I don't follow her on certain things because she is living her life. I don't want to be involved in everything that she wants to do and likes to do. There is an acceptance that she has that I don't have of culture. We look alike. I look like I could be her sister, but we're not. Like, no. But there's certain things you just don't do. And I wondered, I said, okay, well, maybe this is something that his family is proud of, that he's a part of. And that becomes something that then it's like, okay, well, is that what we're dealing with? Are we dealing with someone who's groomed to be this? Because I don't necessarily even know, it seems like even Trump is trying to do better. So I don't know what to make of all of it yet. I just understood that I was very pleased with being able to say, okay, this is who you are. This is what's in your heart. Okay, cool. No issues. I don't necessarily want to have anything to do with your brands, any of that. Like, you clearly are showing me that you have, just kind of different thoughts about the general public. And so I also think that it's going to be a challenge for us to understand, yes, how is Trump going to be a president for the people? He says that he wanted to be the president of everybody. So I'm not sure how, depending on how he responds and what he says about that, and it might just be normal to them. It's almost kind of like how I feel about people that have dogs. There are certain things that are just normal to them, that people who don't have dogs or aren't necessarily always around dogs. And I feel like maybe people with dogs get offended because people without dogs notice a lot of stuff that becomes kind of like almost not necessarily annoying, but just it's very out in the open for people who don't have it. So we see things that people with dogs don't see, or we smell things that people with dogs don't smell because they're used to it. So I think that maybe this is that situation. And I'm wondering how in a modern world, someone who could be so progressive in the way that he kind of sees the world and wants to kind of do all these advancements and things of that sort. How do you see that? I'm not sure how he sees white power. And and not necessarily just white power, because I don't necessarily care, or I'm not bothered by, for example, white pride. Like, I feel like you should be proud of your race. I feel like you should be proud of who you are. You shouldn't. Yeah, you have to realize, we all have to realize iniquities within our bloodlines and things of that sort. Those things we aren't necessarily proud of, but you shouldn't be ashamed to be white. Like, you shouldn't have to walk around with it. You should be able to celebrate and care about the things that you care about, even if other people don't agree with it. But when your common ground is just, when it gets into the superiority over people, is where there comes a problem. Because for me, because I serve a true and living God, if you tell me that you are superior over me or superior over people, then you are claiming to be a God to me. And then really all of your issues and all of your acting out, everything that you're doing, you're really doing it to God. You've pretty much left the rest of us who aren't competing with superiority with you. You kind of blocked us out into the background. So him on the stage doing that sets him directly up. He's setting himself directly up against God. And how you gonna win that fight? Because who's gonna help you? I'm never going to help you prove yourself right. So I kind of, and I think that in my way, that's how I decide, what I support or not. Certain things, you have brands, you can make a decision. Hey, I don't rock with that brand. Or I can say, well, you know what? I can hear what you're saying, but I rock with it. And I think that those are just personal choices. But yeah, and that's what I see. Like, and everybody doesn't have to see that. But when you set yourself against God, I don't really have... How do you fight him? So at any rate, I found that to be very embarrassing. I hate that, I have to kind of still educate my kids on that, on certain dangers. And specifically dangers of white men. I don't know another way to categorize it. I can't just say they're not brave enough to wear the swastikas. Some of them are. They're not brave enough to come in a uniform that identifies them, where we could say, oh, the people who are wearing that and with those symbols right there, those are the ones you kind of want to stay away from. But now I have to generalize it, because now there was a whole crowd of white people cheering and roaring when this is happening. So now I don't really know. There's a mixture of people that say they have faith, people that say that they claim to say they walk with the Lord. I don't have time to sort it out. So unfortunately, I have to walk in a bias now. And I'm going to pick up a bias, and I'm going to do my best to not walk in fear. But I mean, are we expected to not show our children, or how do we do this now? What are we expected to tell our children? I'm really just not sure. Because one of the things that I do believe in praying for the leadership of our country. When I am unctioned, I don't just pray because of prayer sake, but I'll find where I can genuinely pray in love And I don't necessarily know how to love in that situation, yet I can still pray for my enemy. But it won't be for my enemy so that he prospers for the country. Like, he's now an individual. He set himself up to not be an American with the rest of us. But he's saying, I don't want to, I am above you guys. I don't, there was no more inappropriate place to do that than what he chose today. So that's where I am. I don't have any definites right now as far as like, but I am at the place where I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I need to teach my children what they're seeing, what's going on. And I don't necessarily know how to approach that without bias. So at this point, I have to seek the Lord. All right. So that was quick, short, sweet. Thank you so much for listening. And I pray that everybody's heart would have peace that surpasses understanding. And how do we get there? We get there by truly seeking the Lord as Savior. And I don't think that there's any better picture of why we actually need a Savior than now. Like, it literally preaches the gospel itself. There's nothing to say. We need to be delivered. And I'm laughing because I'm nervous. I'm laughing because it guards me against being angry and offended. So, but this literally, that whole gesture should make it clear for everyone on the earth to know why there has to be a Messiah, a Savior for the sins of the whole world. Okay? Like, you can do the imagination yourself. Put the puzzle pieces together yourself. This is the reason Jesus came. To save us. Okay. All right. Enjoy your day and hopefully your weekend. And all right. Until next